welcome back to another video. In this video, will be talking about line plots. Am I right? Cool. So let's get started. Gotta go. Bye.
Oh my! I am so sorry that happened. She is in so much trouble. Sorry about that. So, we're not talking about line plots. No, we did that. You have your project. You're going to share it in small group today. We have a new learning target this week. Woo-hoo-hoo! We're going to talk about decimals. Yes, I know you're excited. So here's your new learning target. You're actually going to have a couple this week, but they're all about decimals. Today we are going to talk about how to write decimals. I can use decimal notation, fancy way of just saying writing decimals. I can use decimal notation for fractions with denominators of 10 or 100. All right, now we've been talking about this. So actually, this probably isn't going to be new to you. All right, it is going to be pretty much what we've already been doing. Now let's review a little bit. Think about what a fraction is. I hope you can tell me by now. Fractions show three things. What are they? Do you know it? Please? Please? All right, fractions show parts of a whole, parts of a group, and they are also a fancy division problem. Okay? Decimals show parts of a whole or parts of a group, and they are the answer to a fancy division problem. Whoa, hold on a second. Let me say that again. Okay? Both fractions and decimals show parts of a whole. They also show parts of a group. Fractions are a fancy division problem, and decimals are the answer to the fancy division problem. Wow. So they are very closely related. And we're going to talk about that today. I sent you pages from Envision, okay? And we're going to be looking at those off and on. So if you don't have them yet, if you haven't found them yet, I want you to pause me right now. I want you to go to the Classroom, Google Classroom page, and I want you to be able in a different tab to pull those up. Have them ready to go, okay? So pause me, go get those pages for today's lesson, and then come on back. Go. Okay, so hopefully you have today's pages in front of you, because I'm not about to draw 100 grid. Not gonna happen. It'll take way too long, and you know my drawing skills, they're not so great. But what I want you to do is I want you to look at the picture on page 629. Look at the bottom of 629. There are grids. Okay, let's just take a look at number 3. If you look at number 3, you would see 100 grid. All right? Now, I just said I'm not going to draw it, but I will outline it for you. Okay? And it's 100 grid, and you know it's 100 grid because you have 10 columns by 10 rows, and 10 times 10 is 100, so it's 100 grid. And on there, you have got 4 squares colored in. Okay, so we have out of 100, imagine this thing is completely full, or look at page 629, you'll see it there, okay? And we're going to color in 4 squares. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 tiny little squares. Not 4 columns, not 4 rows, we just colored in 4 squares. So let's think about what fraction I'm showing here. What fraction is this? Okay, well, how many squares do I have altogether? How many did we say? We have 100. So is that going to be my numerator or my denominator? It's my denominator. Okay, so it's 100. How many out of that 100 are we talking about? How many squares did I color in? How many? 4. So I have 4 out of 100. Now I would say this, 4 hundredths. 4 hundredths. I am showing I have a group of 100, but I'm taking 4 of them out. Make sense? You with me so far? Okay. I want to show that as a decimal. It means the same thing. It's still going to be part of a group, or in this case, part of a whole. All right? But I want to write it as a decimal instead. So how would I do that? Is this 4 hundredths? No, that's 4 tenths. All right, so it can't be this. Is it this? No, that's 40 hundredths. Getting closer. Hundredths means 2 spots after your decimal point. That decimal lets you know that it's a part of a whole or part of a group. So that's not right, but we're closer. We need 2. So we need 2 places after my decimal point. What's it going to be? It's going to be 0, 4. 4 hundredths. 4 hundredths. So I'm looking at 4 squares out of 100 total, and I can write it as 4 hundredths, or I can write it as 4 hundredths, decimal point 0, 4. Does that make sense? Okay. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to look at number 2 on page 629. So you're going to pause me, and then you're going to come back, and I want you to be prepared to show me what does number 4 show. I want you to write it as a fraction, or maybe it'll be a mixed number. Hint, hint. And I want you to see if you can figure it out as a decimal too. All right, ready? Go. All right, welcome back. Hopefully you figured it out. If not, that's okay. We're going to talk about it now. So if you look at it, there were 2 hundreds grids. You had 100 grid, and you had another 100 grid. The first 100 grid was completely filled in. Completely. Every single little 100 square was filled in. So what does that tell you? You have 1 whole, right? So that first one, I know it's not beautiful. I'm not Ms. Ray. It's okay. I color it in completely. That's my 1 whole. I have 1 whole 100 grid. All right, so we're going to write it as a mixed number first. What about over here? What did you have? How many columns were filled in? If you look carefully, I believe there were 5 columns filled in. So how much would that be? 5 columns. That'd be 50. Okay, so 50 because there's 10 in each column. 1, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. And then you had 4 more colored in. So how many would that be altogether? 54. So I would have 54 over, what's my denominator? 100. Okay, so this in your book does a better job, but you're showing 1 and 54 hundredths. So far so good? This is a mixed number. This part, you should be rocking. And here's where it gets a little tricky. How am I going to write this as a decimal? Well, your whole number, just like you always do, but after every whole number is a decimal. Okay? Now, you haven't been writing the decimal because you've not needed to. You've never really worried so much what comes after a decimal point. If you just write a whole number and only a whole number, you're not going to write the decimal. That just looks silly. The only time you're going to write the decimal is if you're going to write something after it. So if I have 1 and 54 hundredths, over here I need to have 1 and 54 hundredths. What's that decimal say? I don't say 1 point something something. I say 1 and 54 hundredths. So what am I going to do? How many places do we need? 2, 54. There are my 2 places. 1 and 54 hundredths. So far, so good? Okay. You're going to go back to page 629, and you're going to see if you can figure out number 5. So look at the grid and look at number 5. Ready? Go. All right. So the next one, number 5, did we have a whole number this time? Nope, no whole number this time because we didn't have a whole entire grid filled in. All right, let's look at what we did have filled in. You should have looked at it and seen 3 columns filled in. All right, so how many would that be? 3 columns. 10, 20, 30. Plus 9 more. So altogether, how much would have been filled in? 39, what? 39 hundredths. Because remember, we had a 100 grid, 10 by 10, 100 grid. 39 were colored in. So that problem, number 5, was showing 39 hundredths. As a fraction, how do I write it as a decimal? Decimal point, 39, and I say it the same way. 39 hundredths, 39 hundredths. And don't forget, when I write out the word hundredths, I have that THS on the end. Okay? So far, so good? All right. One more I want you to take a look at, and then you're going to do some, and we'll talk about them in small group. Okay? I want you to look at number 6. Number 6 on page 629 is money. I want you to look at the money ones and see if you can figure out how to write the money 2 different ways. You're going to write it with a decimal point, which is the usual way you write money. So that will be familiar to you. But then also using fractions. All right, see if you can figure it out. Ready? Number 6, go. All right, welcome back. So how much money did you have altogether? I believe you had 2 dimes, 10, 20, plus 3 pennies. So altogether we would have had 23 cents. So we're going to show 23 out of 100. Because remember, we have 100 cents for $1, 1 whole. Okay, so we have 23 out of 100. The other way to write it is 23 hundredths. Now, if you want to definitely make it look like money, you're just going to add your decimal point. One other thing I want to show you. Sometimes you'll see things written like this. I'll put the 0, the whole number there as a 0. You can do it. There's nothing wrong. There's no magical rule that says you have to or have to not have the 0 there. Okay? If you want to put 0 decimal point 71, that's fine. It's just when you would read this and say it out loud, you would just say 71 hundredths. We wouldn't read the 0. 0 and we wouldn't do that. Okay? If you want it there to remind yourself that that's a whole number, that's totally fine. Just when you say it, you're going to say 71 hundredths. If you don't want the 0 there and you want to just write it like that, that's okay too. Either way is fine. Alright? I want for you to look over at 630. So have your scrap paper handy. You're going to do a couple on your own and have them ready for small group. 630, you're going to do number 7 and number 8. And then you're going to go way down at the bottom and do number 13 and 14. Alright, so I'll say them again. On page 630, alright, now all you have to do is scroll down. It's on that same thing I sent you, same length. It's just 2 pages, one on top of the other. So you got to scroll down, and you're going to do number 7 and 8, and 13 and 14. Do those on your own. Try to get them done before small group, and then we will talk about them in small group. Alright, you good to go? Alright, I'll see you soon in small groups. I sure do miss you. Have a good rest of your day. I love you. Bye.